It was at this event that I initially heard a momentous climate change report delivered by the members of the American chapter of the Creative Society Project.
Я бы начал ебашить, по западному, щоб не захищали і побіжали.
Керівництвом Москви. Для пошуку однодумців зловмисники створили YouTube-канал, мережу...
Монахи, они защищают на сегодняшний день миллионы планет.
Because Allatra is life, Allatra is love. And when each person understands this knowledge, when he starts living with this knowledge, when he realizes the essence of primordial knowledge, he recognizes the truth, and he became spiritual. And I can see right now, practically from day to day, from week to week, more and more people join Allatra international public movement, and many people are ready to act, and many people are willing to build a creative and constructive society.
We are in conflict right now. Let's talk on that level.
I need to give you a small introduction before we get to the meat of this video, because I can't really drop you into this super weird secret alien god Euro cult without proper context. This is almost like Heaven's Gate level creepy, just like on a much bigger scale. Every source that I found that even remotely talks about any of this stuff, and every source that I used for this video is linked in the description. You are going to find just a wall of links. All of these links came directly from my research document. Some of you may know, but some of you may not know, this is Egon Cholakian. When I first learned about Egon, it was from a video that somebody sent me in my Discord server called Destiny's Schizo Arc by Datamosh. This video is very creepy, and to sum it up very briefly, Destiny, love him or hate him, falls down a bit of a rabbit hole about how Twitter bots are basically just modern skinwalkers, and he falls a little deeper down this rabbit hole and finds Egon Cholakian, someone who appears to have a lot of really serious credentials. Upon looking into Egon, we started to take a trip down Uncanny Valley, and a lot of people started to question whether or not Egon Cholakian is a real person. Things like noting that Egon Cholakian was wearing 2 microphones, he's suspiciously still, his background doesn't seem real, and it seems like just an all-around higher quality deepfake. It's still obviously a deepfake. People notice that the photos on Egon Cholakian's website are fake, they're photoshopped, they're collaged together with other images and cleaned up with AI. This rabbit hole is very deep, and I have yet to reach the bottom, and I don't think anybody else has, really. So who is Egon Cholakian, and what is he doing? Well, I'm not gonna lie, when I first started this, I didn't think that Egon Cholakian was a real person. Now I know that he is real. Very real, in fact. The idea that he's not real came from his deepfake videos and really, really weirdly, suspiciously photoshopped images on his website. And everything about Egon Cholakian is super, super, super suspicious. The entity of Egon Cholakian is presented as a really highly intelligent, highly credible doctor, scientist who has this whole arsenal of degrees under his belt, and experience and research and projects with his name on it, but a lot of that is presumably false. He frequently talks about the end of the world, especially in his deepfaked AI videos. There's no evidence to support any of the research or credentials. He's even gotten in trouble with the US government before for failing to disclose his credentials properly. Now, I can't say his credentials are 100% fake with certainty. However, if they exist, they're harder to find than they need to be, and nobody's really found any actual proof that he has these credentials. He's been dubbed to be a pretty notorious charlatan, and that's problematic for a few reasons, actually, especially since there are news outlets that are citing his articles. Whether or not they're paid articles, they're still there, and people are still listening to this. Once we go over his actual mission, you're gonna start to realize why this is a little more funny. Now, to keep this simple, this is a list of credentials that I have ripped from one of his little tabs in his video, just to keep it simple, because if we actually go into where he says his actual credentials are, it's just a wall of text with a bunch of nonsense jargon. Dr. Egon Cholakian, national security expert, federal lobbyist, U.S. Congress and White House, registered foreign agent, U.S. Department of Justice, National Security Division member, International Association of Intelligence Educators, United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation and founding member, OSINT Foundation, worked with 4 U.S. presidents, 3 U.S. Navy security advisors, 1 CIA director. Now, there's almost no evidence that supports this except for a few things. So there's no found evidence of him being being a national security expert. The International Association of Intelligence Educators does not exist as far as I can tell. However, there is an International Association for Intelligence Education, IAFIE, which there is also no indicator that he is a part of. There's no found evidence of him working with any presidents, like he claims. There's no evidence that he's been on Reagan's kitchen cabinet, as he describes in his website, and yes, kitchen cabinet is a real thing. There's no found evidence of him being connected to the OSINT Foundation. The United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation has a membership plan, so maybe that's what he meant, but there's no indication that he's a founding member. He has a Harvard Academia EDU profile, which this website is kind of just like an open repository that isn't actually connected to Harvard. Egon Cholakian, one of his bigger talking points, is stating that he's worked with CERN. You know, CERN. However, we have an email from CERN's press release office stating that they've never worked with him. Egon Cholakian himself has claimed to work in particular in the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, on the Future Circular Collider project, a new collider to replace the Great Hadron Collider. This information was also shared by Ukrainian media. After checking, we can confirm that Dr. Egon Cholakian has never been registered at CERN as a member of personnel nor user, scientific community working in relation with CERN but not CERN employees. Egon is caught in a lie there. His videos frequently mention an organization he's tied to called Allatra. The comment sections on all of these videos are bots. Okay, so what? Supposedly fake scientist, big deal. Well, it is a big deal because he is a registered foreign lobbyist in the United States working for a foreign principal. So this guy with all these supposedly fake credentials gets to interact with our politicians and help shape the legislature of the world and country that we live in. Let's look at some of his public forums. This is where things start to get really because this is where we start to see the real ties to the cult that he's a part of. Right here on this form, you can see name of registrant, Dr. A. Egon Cholakian, name of foreign principal, Allatra International Public Movement, and then some other names. Country, region represented, Ukraine. This is a foreign domestic organization. And we're going to scroll down to section 10. If the foreign principal is not a foreign government or foreign political party, state the nature of the business or activity of this foreign principal. Foreign principal is a membership association that engages in geophysical analysis of the impact of climate change upon the Earth. Is this foreign principal supervised by a foreign government, foreign political party, or other foreign principals? Yes. Explain fully all items answered yes in item 10b. See appendix for response. Here is the appendix. While Allatra International Public Movement was formally registered in Ukraine in 2014 and deemed an association dedicated to addressing the geophysical impact of climate change upon the planet Earth, with an extensive educated membership initially based in the Ukraine, Russia, and Greater Balkan arena, now extended internationally, in 2023 the Russian government, through the Moscow Patriarchate, officially designated this foreign principal, Allatra International Public Movement, as a religious cult, which consequently caused the Allatra International Public Movement to fall under the governments of a body of Russian law subject to enforcement and oversight administered by the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation and the Moscow Patriarchate. In turn, the Ukraine government, through an extension of the Moscow Patriarchate in Kyiv, subsequently enacted the religious cult designation later in 2023 as well, with subsequent governments of regulatory authority accorded through the Security Service of Ukraine. So what does that mean? So basically, Allatra got deemed to be a cult by Russia, and then Ukraine also deemed Allatra to be a cult. Acting on behalf of the Allatra International Public Movement, both in the US and abroad, I, A. Egon Cholakian, shall be entering my professional activities in furtherance of lifting the religious cult designation imposed upon the Allatra International Public Movement by the Ukraine and Russian governments. In this regard, the registrant has been accorded extraordinary discretionary authority to interface with any and all agencies and/or authorities of the U.S. government and explore employment of all available media resources in furtherance of achieving the stated goal. Upon determining the costs associated with any of the aforereferenced measures, a proposal will be submitted to the Allatra International Public Movement seeking board approval. On the bottom of this document, there's an email from the supposed president of Allatra, Dr. A. Egon Cholakian. Following up on our conversation last evening and in Prague, Czechoslovakia, a few weeks back, the Allatra International Public Movement and I would be honored if you would consent to registering with the U.S. DOJ as a registered foreign agent, in addition to likewise activating your U.S. federal lobbyist registration and formally representing our organization before any and all agencies of the U.S. government. To this same end, the Allatra International Public Movement has agreed to pay your person a fee of $2,000 USD every quarter commencing this month. Alright, so that's a lot to digest, and it seems really weird. But basically, fake American scientist is being hired by a Euro cult to be a US lobbyist because Ukraine and Russia don't like this cult and they want to lift the cult designations. They want to get international pressure off of Allatra's back. That's how I'm interpreting it. I'm not a professional interpreter of legal documents. But this ties us into our next part. What is Allatra and what is the Creative Society? Well, according to Wikidata, Allatra is an organization that is considered to be the newest religious movement and occult sect founded in Ukraine. Here is Allatra's symbol. Here is the Creative Society symbol. Now, according to this translated source, Allatra was founded as a movement back in 2014 in Ukraine by, I don't know how the hell to pronounce your name or the pseudonym of it, from Donetsk and former miner Egon Cholakian, who calls himself Holy Spirit. And according to all its signs, as pointed out by religious scholars, the movement is a sect and pseudo-scientific destructive cult that practices hidden psychological violence against its followers. The sect began to grow actively in 2016. Already in 2019, the cult began to use billboards, the press, and the Allatra TV YouTube channel for advertising. Its followers believe in various conspiracy theories, a secret world government, and NATO is called the whip of this government. They also believe in a special Slavic mission led by Moscow. Now, if you Google Allatra Holy Spirit, you can find more information about this dumpy-looking goon and the actual insane shit that he says. And this nutjob is also, just like Egon Cholakian, leaking his way into media. Egon Cholakian, innovator in medicine, advocate for the earth. Basically, this article kind of just goes through his weird credentials, social engagement, and climate activities. Egon Cholakian, a prominent figure known for his social activism, has faced significant criticism and adversity throughout his life. In 2014, upon becoming an active volunteer in the Allatra movement, Cholakian found himself targeted by so-called anti-cult organizations. These groups, operating under the guise of protecting society from cults, initiated a relentless campaign to discredit him. They orchestrated this spread of slander and misinformation across various meeting channels, significantly tarnishing Danilov's reputation. I'm sorry, but if you're beefing with anti-cult organizations, I'm pretty sure you're the problem. An anti-cult organization wouldn't be targeting you if you were not a cult. Now, Allatra has a whole slew of like random media outlets, random YouTube channels. Apparently, they've changed their names on these YouTube channels to avoid them getting taken down. On social media, Allatra also has a good amount of bots or like really aggressive followers that if you question the Creative Society or you question Allatra, these bots will leave some sort of crazy comment on it. I'm bound to get some on this video. If they're on this video, just leave them alone. Let's go ahead and take a look at Allatra's website. Allatra.org. Here's their homepage. It's a lot of hooey fear-mongering. As you can see, there's NASA stuff that they have, and it's all clearly edited out of context videos, edited to fit their narrative. They have the section of nuked videos that got removed about the movement. Allatra International Public Movement was founded in 2011 on the basis of Lagoda International Public Organization. Today, participants of the movement are implementing numerous large-scale projects in various fields. The key theme of these projects is the global climate change on Earth, studying the impact of anthropogenic factors on it, as well as geocosmic and geodynamic factors. Specialists and volunteers from various professions who care deeply about the future of our civilization are working on this. They're utilizing their professional and creative potential to benefit all of humanity. Now, the other offshoot of Allatra is called the Creative Society. When you see Allatra on the surface level, it doesn't sound that bad until you start digging into their message. And they do things like fearmonger climate change, whereas like, if you don't join us and help us, the Earth is going to end in 13 years, and it's probably going to be your fault because you are a consumerist goblin, or some crazy stuff like that. Granted, I believe in climate change. I'm not an idiot. Obviously, all the signs are there, but the way that they're pushing their message and using climate change to fearmonger people is an entirely different story. When you go to the Creative Society, they're basically calling for the entire dismantlement of the entire world government. The Creative Society website is as descript as it possibly can, all the while being incredibly vague, just like everything else about like Egon Cholakian's website or the things that he says. So when you go to the About the Project section of the Creative Society website, you start to see why it's a little culty. You can see their weird little cult symbol they've got going on. Creative Society is an international project that unites people from over 180 countries on a voluntary basis. The goal of the project is to transition in a legal and peaceful way within the shortest possible time to a new creative format of society worldwide, where human life will be the highest value. They also have something called the 8 Pillars, which is also in its very own right culty, especially when you read through it. Today, countries of the world are closely interconnected and interdependent. Therefore, attempting to establish a creative format of society in an individual country or even an alliance of several countries would not be viable. Building the Creative Society is only possible when all of humanity participates worldwide simultaneously. Before an affirmative decision is adopted at a world referendum, individual countries can only declare their intention to transition to the Creative Society. If individual countries or a group of countries try to switch to the Creative Society on their own, their security as well as the well-being of the population may be compromised. They would become vulnerable and unprepared protected against countries that have not yet embraced the creative society. In Europe, there are some independent journalists that have made an effort to go against Allatra or to expose Allatra and what they're doing. So basically, Allatra is making Egon Cholakian their pawn so that way they can preemptively clear their name in the US government by using Egon as their foreign agent. Does Allatra know that Egon Cholakian is loaded up of supposedly fake credentials or incredibly hard to find credentials? I don't know. But this is a incredibly deep rabbit hole that just keeps going. There's other organizations that are attached to it. You're going to find more information, obviously, in the description than you can in this video. If I listed off everything about these organizations and everything that they're doing, this video would be like 90,000 years long. Every resource I have is in the description of this video. And if you want to also research and share what you find, I have a Discord server. You can join the Discord server and go to the Schizo Conspiracy tab, and you can dump whatever links you want in there that pertain to this or any other Schizo conspiracies you want to talk about. There's also a lot of good resources from the DGG community or on the Destiny subreddit, so feel free to go and check those out as well. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. Please don't get sucked into a cult. Bye!